their favor based on everything that was logged. As you see all the movies, 12 Years a Slave, it's a constant reminder that, hey, African Americans, this is your story in America. When I was in Nigeria, I did not know of the African American story until I got to America and found out.
That's true.
Right? I did not know anything about slavery.
So not a lot of quote-unquote African American people are aware of their own history. So many of them think that they are African, and that's just not true. And this is why I encourage quote-unquote Black people to do their research on their genealogy, because genealogy is the way. Of course, they're going to sit here and direct you to a DNA ancestry test because, for one, it's a billion-dollar business, and two, that's the only thing that they can say that is credible to linking you to Africa, when in reality, they only test 0.1% of your DNA. And another thing is that we all have over 1 million ancestors. So if we have over 1 million ancestors and they only test in 0.1% of your DNA, that's not a lot. And not only that, DNA ancestry tests are very fraudulent and they don't prove your origins. They don't prove your racial origins. Okay, there's no diagnostic nucleotide to sit here and say that this person comes from this country or this landmass. It is an illusion that they are selling to quote unquote African American people, and it's time for our people to realize that.
These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only.
William Gilliland is a biology professor at DePaul. He says DNA kits can be great for connecting family members and finding relatives, but the science for ethnicity testing isn't as concrete.
There's nothing that confident for ethnicity. There's no diagnostic nucleotide. You can say this person is from Europe, this person's from Africa.
So furthermore, I came across this African woman talking about how not all African Americans are African on my Twitter timeline. And look, I already know when y'all watch the video, y'all are going to disagree with some of the things that she said pertaining to reparations. And I'm going to talk about that later in the video. So I'm going to show y'all these two videos. One is of course, the African lady talking about not all African Americans are African. And two is a Native American historian called J. Winter Nightwolf talking about the transatlantic slave trade numbers, which I'm going to talk about later in this video. So I'm going to show y'all these two videos and I'm going to come back with later commentary.
That on the ground information, definitely consider joining. But one of the things I've received a lot of emails from, our African American brothers and sisters, some saying, they're staying. They're not going anywhere. That is their land. And I think it's very important for us to open up the discussion that, not all African Americans came from Africa. That is one of the greatest fallacies that has happened. We were a global melanated planet, which means we were absolutely everywhere, on every land, in every country, in every continent, the countries they created. And, there's been so much that's been done because it's a mental reality, it's a mental world. There's so much that's been done to corrupt and rewrite the story, especially when you see the pictures of who they say the native Indians were. But, the Americas were actually it was like Africa. It was a melanated continent, beloveds. And the ones that were taken out looked like you and me. And there are some that were also brought from Africa, and they came and they looked for very specific people from the African continent. But the Americas, there's many of you, beloveds, who you are the native Indians. You are the Native Americans, and that is part of the inheritance that you have been, disenfranchised from. And I know I got a lot of people emotional when I said you shouldn't be waiting for reparations, because you shouldn't.